Hi, I'm Joy, and today I'd like to talk to you about an organization of entities that includes entities like angels, spirit guides, extraterrestrials, various types of entities, and has an agenda for humanity and for Earth, humanity specifically. So this is all very interesting, right? I'm actually making this video as the result of some people asking me to expand on what this organization is and how it all works after I referenced it briefly in another video that I recently created about different types of soul connections, such as soul marriages, and how all of that works. And I will put that link in the description of this video. But essentially, there is a group of entities that works together specifically with the agenda of helping humanity evolve, pushing humans as individuals to increase their own conscious awareness, to heal their generational trauma and their own like ancestral trauma and the collective itself, and their own personal trauma too, certainly, all of that stuff, and to get the message out about all sorts of things, all related to, like I said, helping humanity evolve. And this sounds like a pretty noble thing, right? It's something that we hear a lot in the spiritual community: raising vibrations, raising frequency, vibrating at a higher frequency, being more consciously aware. These are all themes that come up repeatedly. And a lot of people who are very sensitive and somewhat spiritually evolved end up talking to spirit guides, talking to their angels, talking to various types of entities, doing readings, working with their intuition and synchronicities, and listening to channeled messages, channeling messages of their own at a certain point in the process. And there's a lot of curiosity about things like soul origins. There's a big focus on twin flames. And if you're curious about that subject, I would encourage you to check out the video about soul marriages and twin flames. But with all this going on, it actually is pretty effective. There are a lot of people that are going through very painful healing processes and pushing themselves to grow and expand and evolve and healing their family lines and changing the world through even through just their own energetic field, having an impact on those around them, like your neighbor that sleeps on the other side of the wall in your apartment building, as one example. Sleeping in your energy field as somebody who is living at a higher frequency is going to be impacted by that. Not to mention, smiling at a stranger at the grocery store and all of the work that we consciously do to get whatever message seems pressing to us, whatever seems healing to us. All of that work to spread the light, you could say, to bring the darkness to light, all of that. That's all part of the agenda, essentially. So, what about it? Why does this matter? So, for a little context about me, I used to talk to my own personal angels, and we all have our own angels. They're assigned to us at birth, and they help us energetically. They work with us when we're ready to work with them. Sometimes when we feel something intuitively, It's a message from them that's trying to protect us. Like, for example, if you switch lanes on the interstate and you would have gotten into an accident, but now you're safe because you did that, that can be, you know, a little intuitive nudge from an angel, pointing out like various synchronicities and working with us through our intuition, through readings. And at a certain point, a lot of people are able to go into a meditation where they actually talk with their angels. And then at another point, they get to this point where they can just converse with their angels, you know, as they go about their day. And I spent some time like that. There's also like spirit animals or animal guides, you know, whatever term you feel is most fitting for that. And all sorts of other types of entities. Are all of them part of this organization? No, they are not. There are also like demons, for example. So what demons do generally, maybe always, is look for people with insecurities or unmet needs, psychiatric vulnerabilities, and attach to them and prey on them, influence them to behave in ways that just sow misery, chaos, and destruction because they feed off of that energy. I'm sure we can all think of famous people who are like this, where it's like, wow, every single thing this person says or does, it seems like it's just designed to cause pain, to upset people, to get other people riled up, to hurt people, to feed on people's egos or feed into people's egos. And like, why? Why is this a thing? Well, that is most likely a demon attachment to that person who influences that person to say and do things that sow this misery because they feed on it from everyone. And this is actually a pretty common thing. I've seen a lot of this. There's a certain like energetic signature, and I don't think anybody's impervious to it. I think all of us have dealt with various types of dark entities from time to time, demons being one of the types that can mess with us. And it seems like demons usually like either feed on loneliness, like there are demons that will come to you as, so like people who believe in twin flames and like the standard information that you'll read about them know that they can like have like essentially sexual relationships, you know, on a spiritual or energetic plane with this person, or romantic relationships with this person. And what can happen sometimes is a demon will come disguised as somebody, a lot like letting you believe that they're your twin flame, or even if you don't believe it's your twin flame, it can be somebody that you just really want to be with, or an embodiment of whatever it is you're looking for. And they'll feed on your loneliness. And what they end up doing when they engage with you, either emotionally or sexually, is feed off of your energy. They are very parasitic in this way. So they can feed off of emotions and sexual energy. So that's one thing that demons do sometimes. And they call it like incubus and succubus. So that like this is stuff that a lot of people are aware of. And then there's like demons that show up looking like angels. They're very good at doing this kind of thing. And they make you feel special and tell you, you should do this, do that, and tell you a lot of really wise sounding things that you're like, oh yeah, that definitely seems right, stuff that resonates. And it's like 99 truths and one lie, but that one lie will get you in trouble. But they feed into your ego and your pride when they use people like this and end up, well, like I said, sowing misery and destruction in this manner. They can also feed on your fears and cause paranoia. All sorts of things. People can be demons and angels, these types of non-physical entities can't actually physically do anything in the world. They can only influence people, and then people can do things. So that's not something to be taken lightly on one hand, but on the other hand, once you become aware of what you're dealing with, it becomes a lot easier to work with it. And demons don't scare me at all anymore. The first time I dealt with one, it was a pretty scary thing because I didn't know what I was dealing with or how to deal with it. And I feel like this could be a whole video in itself, and I don't want to focus on it too much. There are also various other types of entities. Like I could do a whole video series just on working with earthbound spirits as an example. And if you want this type of content from me, please tell me, leave a comment and let me know. That will help inspire me to go ahead and do it if I have that kind of invitation or request to do so. Anyways, so some demons or some entities, there can be like even dark nature spirits are a thing as well, or fairies is another word for it, for at least for some of them. Dark fairies are a thing. They can be very similar in how they function to how demons are. So certainly not all entities that you're going to run into are part of this organization. There are also ones that are neutral. So for example, if you're talking with your ancestors and asking for guidance from your ancestors, they may or may not be part of the organization. And the same with extraterrestrials, the same with fairies and nature spirits, the same with, I think angels may all be part of the organization. Yes, so angels are part of the organization, just in general. I became aware of the organization when I was having a conversation with somebody, and I made a comment. I'm going to pause for a second and find exactly what I said so I can let you know. Okay, so this is fun. I said, what if seeing the synchronicities means you're seeing the matrix, and the next step is to return to chaos, because then you're free. And when I said that, I was like, whoa, I feel like saying that caught some big negative attention. And what happened that day, this was such a wild experience for me. Okay, so backing up, I had heard, or not heard, I had sensed a presence just observing me before. And I was like, dude, what you doing? And this guy, he looked like a pencil pusher, like a bean counter, or like an insurance adjuster or like accountant type in my head. I'm like, what you doing? And he was kind of startled that I saw him, and he told me that he was observing me. And I said, why? And he said, well, to report to the council. And I was like, oh, would you like to give me some advice about my situation? And he was like, pushing up his glasses, like, oh no, I wouldn't dare. I'm just here to observe. And that was years ago. But then this awareness of the organization, is the council part of the organization? Yes. Okay. So they're related, or the council is part of the organization. Yes. Okay. Just getting verification over here. So when this happened, it was not the first time that I had been aware that I was being watched, but this felt really different. And I had already stopped working with spirit guides, and I had released my angels. By the way, your angels kind of don't have a choice about being with you once they're assigned to you, unless you release them. Ooh, something about that didn't feel quite accurate. What's the deal with that? Not everybody can release them. So not everybody can release them, apparently. And I would say not everybody even should. I'm not encouraging, like, do what feels right to you deep down, what you know inside to be your path. I don't want to encourage anybody to do anything that isn't right for them, and only you can know what's right for you. So just putting that out there. But I released my angels, and stopped working with guides, and started just talking to the universe and God and the Great Mother and Earth sometimes, like the spirit of Earth, and my own divine soul. And sometimes I interact with other types of entities. The trees in particular, I really enjoy interacting with, but they're my friends, or like associates, I guess you could say. We enjoy each other's company and enjoy our, like, I commune with nature, you could say. And all sorts of different things too. Like, I can talk to the planets as archetypes within me. Like, I can talk to my Pluto as an example. So they're like, I do a lot of channeling, basically, is what I'm getting at. But I don't like have guides anymore, per se. Sometimes I will ask for guidance from God or the Great Mother or the universe or my soul, but not like angels or like fairies or any types of entities like that. So anyways, I had already not really been actively engaging in like getting guidance from any beings that are part of this organization for quite a while. However, they do have quite a bit of influence on humanity, and as such, they have quite a bit of influence on the physical world. Because, okay, so I'm about to drop a bomb here, but the human collective unconscious programs the matrix, you could say. Like, the physical world is a manifestation of the human collective unconscious. So it works backwards, forwards, and throughout all of time, like the physical plane. So as humans have concepts of how things work, it can actually change the past for the universe as well as present and future. That time is complicated. Time is complicated. But anyways, so synchronicities essentially can be communications from this organization directly. Or maybe not. Maybe it just means that I'm in the flow of life, that I'm flowing with the kaleidoscopic dance of matter and energy through time that we call life, at least here in the physical plane. So it depends on how I'm attuned as to the meaning of a synchronicity, but in any case, the organization hadn't had much power over me for a while. And at this point, once I started questioning the synchronicities, all of a sudden I attracted some attention, and I didn't even know that the organization existed. But imagine, so this isn't literal, this is very figurative. But the way I saw it in my head was, imagine like an office building. It's like a skyscraper, and it's all full of different entities that work for this organization. And there's a woman with like, curly red hair. It's kind of wild, and a headband and glasses, and like she's chewing gum and wearing a headset, and she's sitting at a computer. And all of a sudden she says, oh, oh, like, we need to escalate this case because, somebody just got a new level of awareness. And all of a sudden, my case is getting transferred upstairs. And my awareness that it happened got it sent up another level. And it just like kept going up, like they kept escalating it until I reached the top. So then I'm talking to the dude in the big office. And like, there's like bodyguards there, and I don't know. It was interesting. Imagine being in like almost like the president's office or something like that, but not that. But it was all very like formal and regal, and like clearly this entity was very powerful. He doesn't speak for himself though. He represents the organization. So anyways, he's like, congratulations, you made it all the way to the top. You can get a prize for this, And I'm like, a prize? And he's like, basically telling me that how do I put this? They were willing to give me whatever I wanted, largely, to cooperate. They wanted my cooperation. And at the time, I went through a lot of difficult years. And I was at this point where I was like, I don't even care what happens in my life anymore. Like I'm here, I'm invested, but like right now, like it just hurts too much to care. And like, I don't give a shit. I had reached, like years before, I had reached this level of oneness, this awareness of myself as the universe and my own divinity, and the interconnectedness of all of it, and the wholeness, the oneness of all of it, the perfection of everything, and just the knowing, the feeling, the being of love as the fabric of existence. And it was all so beautiful. And as I walked through life, I was kind of wondering what I was even doing anymore. Like, it's all perfect. I don't need to mess with any of it. I don't feel the need to change anything in the world because it's perfect the way it is. And like, I'm not sure like what I'm even doing here, frankly. And then at that point, I made a conscious decision to like climb back into the mud and roll around in the mud and just get dirty and have fun, essentially. And by that, what I mean is when I questioned why I was here, the answer was to experience. I'm here to experience life on this plane, not here to walk around in transcendence. I'm here to really invest myself in living life and getting the most out of it, whatever that means. And, sometimes things are going to be painful, and that's fine. And there's no level of transcendence or enlightenment or healing that anybody in physical form can ever get to that makes it so the wounding inside, all of the wounding, all those parts of us that absorbed painful energies from our environment or are holding on to the pain that we ourselves went through at some point. Our inner worlds are so vast. There's no way in a lifetime to possibly unburden all of that. That's always going to be there to some extent. And I don't want to discourage anybody from doing their own inner healing work or from unburdening traumas. If it feels right to you, go for it. Well, like I said earlier, whatever feels right. I find that every single one I do, and I do quite a bit of this myself still, every time something comes up for me and I unburden it, I get lighter and freer. And it's worth it for me. It's well worth it. So I could live in that state of spiritual bliss and just feel myself as being, as love. Or I could go ahead and invest myself in life, like try to do things, have some material goals, go ahead and get attached to people and situations, even though it's going to hurt. It always does. Attachments end up being painful. And I'm not saying that they're not worth it, because I believe that they are, maybe some more so than others. But in any case, life is messy. The physical plane, life on this plane is hard. It's painful sometimes. It hurts. And I made this conscious decision to go ahead and dive right back into it and not walk around in this state of transcendent bliss as my way of being any longer. I can always go there when I want to recharge or rest, or when I just need a break. It's nice to know that that's there. But I decided I was really going to invest myself in my life, really live it, really be here, including, if I'm having a bad day, I'm having a bad day, and I don't need to judge that. I don't need to resist it. I can just go ahead and hurt, or use the tools that I have to unburden whatever's there. But I can care about things, and I can be an imperfect human being. That's fine. So at this point, returning to the story of the organization. So at this point, I was burnt out on caring, because it hurt so much, and that's just where I was, and that's fine. And he was like kind of offering me rewards to work with them, essentially. And I was like, I don't even want anything. Like get out of here. What I want is freedom. And I don't really care what happens to me. At the time, I didn't, because that's just where I was at the time. Climbing climbing back down into the mud, it ended up being pretty painful at the time. But anyways, so there was essentially like nothing that they could say to keep me around there and like keep me under their influence, or even to have my cooperation, essentially. I didn't want to be controlled, and I had had some really, 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 really painful experiences, when I was at the point in my life where I was, listening to spirit guides and angels and believing everything that they were telling me about my path and what I should be doing. It was what I needed at the time, maybe, or I mean, clearly, or it wouldn't have happened. But I went through a lot of painful experiences as the result of that. And yes, they ended up being healing, but it was still very painful. And I was just really done with all of it, and kind of at the time resented the organization for putting me through that, basically. And I was like, adios, sayonara. I walked out the doors. Like, it almost looked like something from a movie in my head. But then they were saying, well, she's a free agent. She's a free agent now. So I have been referring to myself like, I see posts on like Facebook as an example, and memes about witches. And I even had somebody tell me at one point, my parents probably think you're a witch. And I just laughed. And I was like, oh, I'm much more powerful than a witch. Which, nothing against witches by any means. I find I love all of it. And I could say the same thing about like being a shaman. Like, I do a lot of shamanic work. I wouldn't say I am a shaman though. Like, there's just so much more to what I do. That's a pretty big part of it though, for sure. I think that's part of the life path 11, plus like the Scorpio moon and Pisces Mercury and all of that fun stuff. But anyways, I wouldn't even say I'm like a priestess, or like there really isn't a term that is broad enough to define who I am or what I do in regards to all this stuff. But free agent, that does work. That works for me. I'm a free agent. So you might ask, like, why? Why not just work with them? They're doing something that, seems like such a good thing, right? They're making humanity evolve. Well, here's where it gets really interesting. You're gonna love this or not. I love this. So recently I was exploring this a little bit because, like I said, some people had asked me to make a video expanding on it. And like, I'm just going to be honest, I have not put much thought or exploration into the subject of the organization, like, why they're here, what they're doing, like how it all works. I like this, it just hasn't been a big focus for me. I'm just kind of like, well, whatever. And I've been reluctant to talk about it because, are people really ready? I had that question. Also, like, I don't want to cause any harm, and I don't want to make enemies with this organization, certainly. I don't feel like I am, though. Uh, so so there was all that, and also just like, who cares? Like, it just hasn't been a big focus for me. So I'm gonna fast forward to where I am now. I would say 2022 has undoubtedly been the happiest year of my life by far. A lot of things changed, but the most important thing was that I have some chronic health conditions that finally got diagnosed in like 2021, 2022. And I am in treatment for some of them and have made lifestyle modifications for others. There are some supplements that really help me a lot. And basically, because I'm feeling so much better physically now than I ever have, in combination with all of the inner healing work and spiritual growth I've done in my life, and also just like I have a certain amount of stability in my life that I didn't have for a long time, and also just peace in my home. That's a pretty big deal. Like I feel like I have a home for the first time in my life. And I've got a lot of great friends. Like life is really good in a lot of ways, and I feel great. I'm happier than I've ever been. I'm like when my health issues got worse, I had to take a step back from my like profession and my calling, you could say, for a little bit there. But I'm feeling really well now and have been kind of like working my way back into doing those things. I haven't really been in too much of a hurry. I do some other stuff to pay the bills in the meantime, and it's been really chill, and life is good. So I've been really happy, and having that and the stability that I've had in my life and just feeling well enough, I'm back to a point where I do care what happens in my life, and I I do want certain things for myself, and that's a difference between where I am now and where I was a little over a year and a half ago when I had that experience where I became a free agent. So now I'm a free agent with desires, things that I ask the universe for or ask life for, things I want for myself. And I'm happy as I am now, like I'm very happy. So I'm in this unique position at this point to work with this subject, and it does feel good and right to make this video and put this information out there. And something about what I just said didn't quite resonate for me. I think it's saying that it feels right. Right for me would be the more accurate way to put it, because I don't think that it's objectively right or wrong. I think it's right for me. So once again, you can decide what's right for you or feel into what's right for you in terms of what to do with this information if you're watching this. So anyways, going back to the question of like, why not just work with this organization? All right, I'm gonna talk about something called alignment right now. And this is a Dungeons and Dragons thing. I don't know if you're familiar. I mean, I'm sure some people will be and some people won't be with D&D alignments, but essentially there's good versus evil and you can be neutral, and there's lawful versus chaotic and you can be neutral. So the various combinations of these categories mean that there's 9 different alignments. So like there's lawful good, lawful evil, lawful neutral, and so on. You can be any combination of those things. So good versus evil is more or less defined as selfish versus, or well, good would be selfless and evil would be selfish. And then neutral is kind of a balance between those things. And I'm neutral as far as that goes, because I believe that each one of us is responsible for ourselves and our own path and our own well-being and our own needs and desires, and just for ourselves in general on a level that nobody else ever could be, and also that we could never be for anybody else. And that I have a responsibility to myself to look out for my own best interests to some extent. Now, does that mean that if there's some little thing I feel like doing and it's going to cause a lot of pain for a lot of people, that that's okay? I wouldn't say that. That's taking it a bit far. I would say that would land me on the evil side of the dichotomy there. So, so I'm neutral. Like, I think at times it's appropriate to be selfless or to look out for the interests of others, or like society as a whole, or whatever. And then there are times when it is appropriate to be selfish. I definitely feel that to be true. So I am neutral as far as that goes. Now, as far as lawful versus chaotic, lawful is pretty much exactly what it sounds like following the rules and going along with like the structure of society and the system. And so let's look at chaotic good as an example. So if you think of Malcolm Reynolds from Firefly, good example of chaotic good. So that's somebody who doesn't like the system, doesn't like the government, doesn't like rules, doesn't like to follow rules, but he's good. He, will do what's in the best interests of his crew, of, just what he feels is right for others. So that's an example of how somebody can be both chaotic and good in this system. And the chaotic people or characters in Dungeons and Dragons are like this. They, whether they're good or evil or neutral, as far as that side, as far as that spectrum goes, they like the chaos. They don't like the rules. They don't like the structure. They don't want to go along with what society or institutions want them to do. And then neutral sees some necessity in having that kind of order, and also thinks that there should be limitations, or that these institutions and organizations aren't always right, and basically goes along with laws that, or rules or structures, systems that that seem fine, and like they're not really causing any issues, but is totally fine with breaking the law or breaking the rules or just being chaotic if it serves if it serves the situation in some way. So the neutral can go either way, with being lawful or being chaotic, or a combination of both. So I am true neutral, which means that with lawful versus chaotic, I fall somewhere in the middle there as well. So so being true neutral means, in my case, that I'm kind of free from ideas and concepts about what I should do or how I should be, and just take each situation as it comes. The types of like dark entities that I described earlier are more like chaotic evil, the parasitic ones. And the organization is lawful good. You can ask any entities that you work with whether they're part of that organization or not, and they should tell you. And like, I can't imagine that they wouldn't. So the problem with lawful good, as far as I'm concerned, is that just because the ideal is good, the intention is good, does not mean that the actual result is good. Having a set of morals, I'm not saying that people shouldn't have morals, but I'm saying that adhering to them too strictly can be just as problematic as not having any at all, in my opinion, from my perspective. That it's important to look at the situation, at each situation, and I could say do what feels right. I'm a fan of the concept of Wu Wei, which means doing, not doing. That's WU space WEI if you want to look it up, Wu Wei. But anyways, like just acting naturally, you know, flowing with life. And those judgments that are present with both lawfulness and goodness, to me, can cause more harm than good. And I don't like to be told what to do. I'm just going to be real. I don't like being told what to do. So, like, that's why I didn't want to work with the organization initially. But since I started looking into this a little bit more, I actually have been having conversations with the universe and, you know, like talking to the soul of the universe about this particular subject. And the universe told me that nature seeks balance. And in trying to be good, what the organization is doing is indeed helping humanity evolve more quickly. And as humanity evolves, the physical plane does as well. Life gets better if we're judging things, which and the issue with this for the universe is that the evolution of humanity speeds up the death of the universe itself. Like the more quickly humans evolve, the more the universe gets pushed towards its own death. Whoa, like that's pretty wild. And the way that sustains the universe is for people to live in harmony with life. And that means both the life within them and the life around them, to be true to themselves and their paths, to go ahead and be imperfect, to just do what they do, you know, just flow with life, live naturally, and to find that harmony and alignment between their inner and outer worlds, to find their place in the world, to be themselves, you know. And that's different than what the organization is trying to do and trying to push people to do, because the organization is looking for rapid growth, rapid evolution from individuals and from humanity as a whole. ascension is essentially the death of the universe. Like if humans ascend out of the physical plane, that means the physical plane is no more. It ceases to exist without the collective, without humans being there to define it. Right? So the universe as an entity in and of itself, the universe is a living being in and of itself, and we're all part of it, is very much like any living being in that it's got a self-preservational instinct. So this organization, while it looks like such a good thing, like so much less suffering with the evolution of the species, right? We're evolving. This isn't the Middle Ages anymore. It's not the Dark Ages where, people did just awful things constantly and hurt each other so much and just very much lived in the dark. It seems like such a good thing, but the universe is kind of like I want to live. So living in harmony with life and the universe actually is an easier and I feel more rewarding, potentially, path for humans to take than this focus on rapid growth, rapid healing, rapid evolution. It's certainly a more natural path for humans to take. What does it take to evolve, to grow? It takes struggle. It takes pain and a sense of necessity. What's that phrase? Necessity is the mother of invention. So our spirit guides and angels and intuition, as it's influenced by these things, and divination as it's influenced by these things, and a lot of the channeling that you see on like YouTube or whatever, a lot of the messages that are out there, people talking about raising vibrations and that sort of thing. A lot of that involves pushing people to be greater than what they are, to do things that are currently beyond their capabilities, to reunite with their twin flame, which is usually actually their soul spouse, which is different. And like I said, I've got a whole other video about that. And do things that are, I don't want to say impossible, but very, very, very challenging. And to rapidly shed situations in life and that's painful. There's a grieving process every time we transform. We have to mourn who we're leaving behind, both as who I'm leaving behind as the me I used to be, as well as my connections with other people to some extent, because it was the old me that had those connections and the new me might not mesh with them as well anymore. So, there's all sorts of loss and growing pains involved in evolving. And it is natural for humans to want to grow and evolve and heal and change. It's kind of a question of how rapidly we're doing it. And when angels get involved, man, angels are really dramatic, like so dramatic. Like, they have this manner of speaking that's just, like something you'd see in the movies, or it's the angels we have heard on high. It's kind of, I don't think regal is quite the right word. They're very dramatic, and they do, push people towards being dissatisfied with where they are, I believe. Like that has been my experience and what I've seen. And like, other types of spirit guides that are part of the organization, them as well. They will push people to grow more rapidly than is natural for them, and it's painful. It's hard. And you don't need to do it. I mean, you can if you want, if you feel that's your path, okay. But you don't have to. If you don't feel it's your path, you can take it easy, have easier lessons, live in greater harmony with the world and with life, if that's what resonates with you. And life will still be painful because the physical plane is very dense. That's just the way it is. And we all came here to experience that. Think of like somebody playing a video game. And they're like, man, I'm gonna put it on the hardest possible setting this time. Let's see how fast I get wrecked, and jump in and do it. Like sometimes, not every time, sometimes. Or they'll say, okay, I'm going to build my character in this particular way and take this particular path through the game because I want to do these side quests and collect all of this kind of item, or I want to level out my stats in this particular area, or whatever. There's all sorts of ways to play the game. But being here for the experience is kind of a lot like that. And then at some point, souls might be like, right on board with the whole evolution of humanity thing, and come into this life with the intention of working with the organization and following that path. So once again, I'm not telling you what's right for you. Whatever feels aligned to your soul purpose, or whatever feels right for you deep down, that's your path. I don't really think there's any way to get it wrong. Like, I don't think there's any way to go off course in life. The other thing, I was just about to wrap up, and I remembered that there is another thing that I want to add to this video, which is that not every entity with which we come in contact is part of the universe. Some of them are very much like, all right, so if you have any interest in like subjects related to like medicine and health and that sort of thing, you'll know that we all have a microbiome in our bodies, different bacteria, fungus, parasites, even like skin mites and these sorts of beings. We all kind of have a whole world of entities that when I say entities, I'm talking about like bacteria and that sort of thing right now. But a whole world of entities that live in and on us. And like your skin microbiome, the different healthy or unhealthy microbes that live on your skin and then in your digestive tract and so on. Angels and demons and certain other types of entities are like that in the universe. They are not part of the universe, and God did not create them. Getting really controversial now. They live in the universe similarly to how a human's microbiome lives in their bodies. And some of them are parasitic, some of them are symbiotic, some of them are just opportunistic. But demons and angels and some other types of beings, I don't even know what to call some of them, but there's one in particular that likes to hang around cemeteries to feed on the misery, not feed on, to take advantage of the misery of people who go there. They're not earthbound spirits. They're more like a virus, and they're not even from this universe. Like, God did not make them. You can ask for God to protect you from entities, by the way. Like, if you ask for God's protection, God will protect you. Every time I drive past a cemetery, I'm like, God, please protect me as I drive past the cemetery, because these things follow me home and mess with me while I'm sleeping. It's not fun. Like, I'll wake up and I'll like see something there watching me. And they look different at different times, but it's not sleep paralysis. Like, I can move immediately, I can talk immediately, and anyways, that's a whole, I don't even know what to call them. There's some kind of like a virus though. Anyways, entities that are part of the universe. So, okay, so God created the universe as if you're into astrology, it's very much like a fifth house thing for God. Like, it's artistic self-expression, it's fun, it's it's like an art project, like a drawing almost, except for very, very, very complex, because God is an extraordinary being who can do that. And the universe is made out of God's energy, and we're all part of the universe, and we all have the power of creation within us. The will of the creator, the power of intention. We can change the physical world by intending for it to change. And our thoughts and words can manifest things in the physical world. And the more we're aware of it and how it all works, and the more we can see the flow of life, and the more honest we are with what we say, the more powerful we are in being able to create these things. And it's important to flow with the life around us to some extent too, or well, very much so, because the collective is very powerful as well, the collective unconscious, and every single person has the power of creation within them as well. And it's really important not to violate somebody else's free will in what you're trying to will into existence yourself. So just throwing that out there as a little disclaimer. That is another like whole subject in itself. But anyways, the types of entities that God did create are like humans, some extraterrestrials, nature spirits like fairies and like trees, like the spirit of a mountain, the spirit of a body of water, the spirit, those types of nature spirits. Ascended masters used to be like human souls, so they are God's creation as well. Earthbound spirits of humans and spirits who have already crossed over, also God's creation, us, God's creation. I'm trying to remember what else. I can probably just wrap up now. I think you're getting the idea. Ah, this is all so much fun. Okay, so if you have any questions or you want videos on like specific subjects, feel free to let me know in the comments. This is really fun. I enjoy it. And thank you to the people who requested that I make this video. I'm glad I did. And the universe was encouraging me to do it. And my own soul was like, do what you want to do. I was like, yeah, I want to do this. So here I am. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.